Hey, how you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another review. And in this video, I'm giving my review of Mortal Kombat 2021, which was directed by Simon McCoy. And this will be a non-spoiler review, but I will get into spoilers towards the end. So if you want spoilers, just go into the description, and you can find the time code for it. And before I get into the video, don't forget to like this video, share, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for that. So, Mortal Kombat 2021. This was one of my most anticipated films of 2021. It was definitely, I know it was in the top 10, maybe the top 5, but I was interested, I was intrigued. Then I saw the trailer, that red band trailer that dropped a couple months ago, and I was blown away because I was like, that trailer alone exceeded any expectations that I had for this movie. And after seeing the film, I'll just get to it. I like the film. Now, I was not expecting, in my deepest, darkest fantasies, I was expecting the turmoil that this movie has caused. It just recently dropped on HBO Max, and the timeline is divided, is up in an uproar over Mortal Kombat. This film is got people in their feelings. People are upset. People are mad as hell about this movie, and I'm just sitting here like, thought it was fine. I had no major issues with it. Like I said, I was expecting that's the worst, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I enjoyed myself. So I think a lot of people had very high expectations. I mean, Mortal Kombat is a very popular franchise. I'm a fan of that franchise. I'm not like a diehard super fan of it. The last Mortal Kombat game I actually played was Mortal Kombat versus DC. So but I know, most of the lore. I love the designs and I love the characters themselves. But to be like, I would live, breathe, and sweat Mortal Kombat, that's not the case. And, certain people who are big fans like this movie. Certain people who are big fans hated this film. I thought it was a fine film, but I'll get more into that later. Like I said, this movie was directed by Simon McCoy, which I just found out. This was his second director credit, which is kind of shocking that they would give this big franchise to someone who's only had one director credit before this. He might have done a lot of like assistant directing or stuff like that, but the fact that they did that was a bit odd in my opinion. But he did a decent job, especially now knowing that this was his second director's job. But the story, this version of the Mortal Kombat movie focuses on this MMA fighter named Cole Young, who finds out that he's destined to defend the Earth from mystical evil forces in an ancient martial arts tournament known as Mortal Kombat. And yes, that's essentially the story, and it goes on from there. We meet some of the classic characters, a good amount of classic characters actually. Now, things that I enjoyed in this film. The fighting is really good. I like the fighting. Now, some people complain about how it was shot. I didn't notice anything too bad in how it was shot, but there was, I could notice some of the editing was a little too quick at certain moments. But the majority of the fight scenes were really, really solid, especially the ones that involve Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which I thought was weird that Warner Brothers dropped the first 7 minutes, the opening of the film on YouTube a couple of days ago. I thought that was weird, but that opening sequence is really fucking good. This film is rated R, which thankfully it is, because it is bloody and it is pretty gory. I saw a lot of people complaining that it wasn't gory enough. I mean, maybe people's threshold for gore is a lot higher than mine, but I thought it was pretty gory, much more gory than the first two films, much more bloody than the first two films. I don't remember if the first movie was rated R. I did my research because I recently, the night before I watched this, I watched the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, and I watched the animated movie Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge. And all three of these movies have their negatives and their positives. As an actual film, straight up as a film, I like this movie more. A lot of people saying that this movie is worse. Some people say it's worse than Annihilation. I can't take that seriously because Annihilation is fucking terrible. But sure, it's worse than Annihilation. There's certain things that I like about the 95 movie that they get right, and then there's certain things in this movie that they do far better than the 95 version. One of those being the way that a lot of the characters look closer to the game. Like they look, there's a certain style that most of these characters have, the designs that I really appreciated, especially like the color palettes are much more closer to what we think of when we think of these characters as opposed to what we saw in that original movie. Some of the fighting is better. Like I said, it's a little bit gorier. The dialogue, but people complain about the dialogue. The dialogue is bad in both movies. I don't know why one is held at a higher standard. Maybe because people saw it when they were like children and it's like part of their memory banks, which is understandable. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. But it's just weird. The fighting is really good. The gore is really good. I like the cast as a whole. The cast is solid, except for like maybe like a few characters, which I'll get to in my negatives. Like I said, I like the designs, and I like how they peppered in some of the famous catchphrases from the series, which all the movies figure out a way to do that. So yeah, and there's certain things, they do change certain elements. Initially, one of those involves this, what do you call it? Like this, not birthmark, but it's like this logo. It's basically the Mortal Kombat dragon logo that pops up on certain people. That's how they know that they're chosen to be a part of the Mortal Kombat tournament. That was different. Some people, I guess, are upset about that. It doesn't bother me. Mortal Kombat has gone on for like 30-something fucking years, and there's various different stories and different interpretations. This is just a different interpretation, and I'm fine with that. I can live. I'm a fan of comic books. Comic books are different runs happen over the years. This is just a different run of Mortal Kombat, so I'm fine with that. Now, I guess I can hop into the negatives. So usually I wait and talk about the cast, but I'm just going to hop into some of the negatives right now. For me, Raiden and Shang Tsung were letdowns. I was expecting more from both. The guy who originally played Shang Tsung, I don't have his name right now, but he's still my favorite version of Shang Tsung. He's awesome. He came back in the recent game and was holding it down. The guy that plays him in this one, Chin Han, he's okay. He doesn't have as much. I was surprised at the little bit of screen time that both him and Tadanobu Asano, who plays Lord Raiden, I was surprised at the few screen time that they had. And he was kind of this grouchy and barely did anything, which sometimes Raiden is kind of like that, where he barely does anything, but it was a bit shocking that there was no fight sequence with him in this. And also no fight sequences with Shang Tsung. That was kind of weird. Another negative that I have is the ending. The ending of the film was kind of abrupt. Like it felt like it was building to something kind of epic, and then it kind of stopped. It ended on a fight, and then I was kind of expecting, like, it was almost like, is that it? Oh, okay, I guess that's the end of the film. Once again, not bad, but I was kind of like, oh, all right. I thought they were going to go a little bit bigger. Like sometimes certain movies tend to go way big, and then I guess it's kind of, they held it back just a bit, but you know, it's whatever it is. Another big negative for me, is there was poor use of the Mortal Kombat theme. They barely used that theme in this film. There's a moment where they kind of hint at the melody a little bit, and it's like, oh, I wish you just would have did the actual, OG theme. It would have been much better. They play it at the end credits. It's like a weird, like, techno EDM version, which was whatever. And there's another character in this movie that I love. He's definitely my top 10 favorite Mortal Kombat characters. I'm not going to say who he is. Well, fuck it, I'll say my boy Kung Lao. They did my boy Kung Lao dirty in this film. It was a shame. I was disappointed because he was really cool. Max Hong. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. He was good. I liked him in the role, and then they did something with him, but I was just like, oh, damn. Another thing, if you're a huge fan of Scorpion, like if when you think of Mortal Kombat, if it doesn't involve Scorpion for like at least 90% of the time, you're going to be upset. You're probably going to be disappointed with this movie. Scorpion, slight spoiler, but he's not in this movie that much, was a bit of a shocker. Maybe because I just recently watched Scorpion's Revenge, and he was like a big centerpiece of that movie. So maybe that's why I was kind of shocked that Scorpion, like the most iconic character, wasn't in the film that much. But it is what it is. So I guess I'll get into the actual cast. The main lead is a character called Cole Young, who is played by Louis Tan. And I like Louis Tan. He's cool. I was first aware of him when he popped up in Iron Fist on Netflix. He was in like the one good episode, the one good fight in that season 1, episode 8. And he plays Cole Young, who is this completely original character. He's not really necessary. I don't hate Cole Young. I think some people hate Cole Young because he is new. I don't hate this character, but he's like unnecessary. That Mortal Kombat has its main protagonist. It's Liu Kang. I don't know why they felt the need to kind of push Liu Kang to the sideline. It was also really weird when you have Ludi Lin, who plays Liu Kang, and he does a really good job. Like I like him a lot in this role. He was good in his fight sequences. He looked great in his outfit that he was wearing. They had his actual fire powers, which he didn't really have in the other films. Maybe Annihilation, he eventually had them. He didn't have them in the fucking 95 version, but that, of course, is the superior movie. He was killing it in the role, and he even had a little bit of dialogue about his backstory. And it's like, they should have just focused on that. That would have just been way better. So that was weird that they felt the need to do that. I feel like there might have been some rights things where Warner Brothers was like, if we do something with this franchise, we want to at least own one of these characters kind of outright, because I guess they have to pay the NetherRealms the licensing for the other characters, but maybe with this new character, Warner Brothers has a certain amount of the copyright holdings, and maybe that's why they felt the need to do that. But it felt unnecessary to me. But the best, or like the character that really holds this movie down, the MVP of this film is Josh Lawson as Kano. Kano was awesome. I liked him in this film. Kano's not like my favorite MK character, but this guy did a great job as Kano. He's kind of annoying. Like, some people might find him annoying. I thought he was fun. He was definitely, whenever he was on screen, he did a lot of talking, but he was at least, he was almost in a way, he was kind of like the Johnny Cage of the film, where he was this someone just always kind of acknowledging how weird this shit is, or this shit doesn't make sense. Like, what is all of this? He was fun. I liked him. I liked him a lot, and he looked the role. He is Australian, and he was just a son of a bitch, and he was cool. Now, Joe Taslim as Bihan, aka Sub-Zero, second favorite character in this film. One of my second favorite Mortal Kombat character. Fucking awesome. He was great. The one thing I wished about some of the designs, I wish the designs were, some of the designs were a bit more colorful. Like, he was wearing blue, but it was kind of muted. I wish it was a little bit brighter. Same with Scorpion. His yellow, his gold was a little more muted than I would have preferred, but he was awesome. His special effects were really good. The special effects in this film were really good to decent, which is high praise, because the special effects in the other Mortal Kombat movies are trash. But anyway, but 95 is the superior film. But anyway, Joe Taslim killed it as Sub-Zero. Great fatalities. The fatalities in this film were really good. A lot of them were fairly accurate to the games. Like I said, there was a good amount of blood and gore, but some people, I guess, wanted more. Now, are they as elaborate as, say, like the newer games, especially like MK 10 and 11? No, they are not. They are not that elaborate. I wasn't really expecting that level of violence in the film in the first place, but and I think it's a little bit easier to pull that off when it's a CGI character as opposed to an actual person. But maybe if they get a sequel, they might amp up the violence a little more, which I would be fine with, because they did kind of play it a little safe, I would say, to a degree. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it was, it's a good mid-range of how far they go with the violence. I was pleased. I was definitely kind of shocked about certain things. It's like, I'm not the biggest horror person, but, if I see a fucker get his head cracked open, I'm going to react. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of which, Mekhi Brooks was Jackson Briggs, which now that I think about it, they never call him Jackson Briggs. It's just Jax. Huh, that's weird. Anyway, Mehcad Brooks plays Jax, who is my favorite Mortal Kombat character, and he does fine in the role. I would still say Michael Jai White is the best live-action version of Jax, but Mehcad Brooks is good. There is a moment, it's kind of unfortunate, where if you know with the character, he ends up losing his arms. There's a moment where he kind of gets his stage 1 arms, and it looks not good. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know why they felt the need to do that. There was some oddness with his whole thing to a degree, but I'll get more into that in spoilers. This, those are the main things. Like I said, as a whole, I enjoyed the film. I was not disappointed. A lot of people are saying that the plot and the dialogue's not great, but once again, it's Mortal Kombat. I want to know some great dialogue for Mortal Kombat. Some people saying the story made no sense. Now, they did fundamentally change the fundamental thing about it. They kind of worked around it without doing it to a degree, which, I mean, I had no problem with it because we've seen that done before. So I guess they wanted to change it just a little bit. Once again, I was fine with it, maybe because I'm not that dedicated to the source material. I can kind of deal with the slight changes, but like I said, some people just they can't take it, so they're upset. And another thing that's kind of annoying me, people are like, oh, the story made no sense, the plot was weird. Now, Mortal Kombat, like I said, it's been around for 30 years. They've had at least 11 or so games. I'm gonna give me 3 examples. I want 3 examples. Let me know in the comments 3 examples of when any of those storylines made sense. I want to know. Let me know now, because it's fucking Mortal Kombat. I don't know how deep it needs to be. I don't know how eloquent the words need to be. It's Mortal Kombat. It's Earth, and there's another realm, and they have a tournament to fight for good and evil. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. They beat the shit out of each other and murder each other, and then they do it all over again each time. It's not that deep. I don't know why people... I guess people were expecting like Christopher Nolan's Mortal Kombat or fucking goddamn Brian De Palma's or fucking Francis Ford Coppola's Mortal Kombat. It's fucking Mortal Kombat. It's not that deep. I don't know. Sometimes people expect certain things like with Kong Godzilla. They expected that to be super deep. It's a goddamn giant lizard versus a giant ape. I don't know how deep you need it to be, but whatever. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. But with that being said, my grade for Mortal Kombat 2021 would be, or is, a B- or a 7.5 out of 10. I was entertained. The thing about me is, if a movie is good or bad, as long as I'm entertained, I ranked entertainment level is a little bit higher than competency to a degree. Like, it can be an incompetent movie, but if my entertainment is outweighed over the incompetency, I tend to enjoy myself because I like movies for entertainment. So I was not disappointed with this film. If you want to check it out in the theaters, go ahead. I wouldn't necessarily go out to the theaters to see this, but if you can see it on HBO Max and watch it at home, I think that's the best way to watch it. Because I feel like if I did pay and got dressed up to go to the theaters, I would have been a little more disappointed. But the fact that I watched it at home and I was in just in my regular pants, I could pause it when I needed to, I was fine. I was entertained. But let me know what you thought about the film in the comments. Once again, don't forget to like this and share it. And thanks for watching. And if you want spoilers, stick around because we're about to get into spoilers. All right, let's get into spoilers about Mortal Kombat. Spoilers. So, I was surprised that Scorpion was really only at the beginning and the end of the film. I was really shocked by that. Let's see, who was the guy that plays Scorpion? Hiroyuki Sanada played Scorpion. He's at the beginning of the film and he comes up at the end. Both of those moments were cool. I like him in the suits. I thought it was weird how they changed his story a bit. Like, they get most of it right, where he's in ancient Japan, his family gets killed by the Lin Kuei, and Sub-Zero kills his wife and kids. But in this version, he had another kid that didn't die, and Raiden took that kid, which later led on to Cole Young's character. And they left it where it was actually Sub-Zero who was the one that killed his family. But in the traditional storyline, it was actually the character Quan Chi who posed as Sub-Zero. So then when Scorpion was, in the nether realm in hell, he makes a deal with him to say, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, I'll let you get revenge on Sub-Zero. When Sub-Zero, even though they were enemies, Sub-Zero wasn't actually the one that killed his family. They cut all of that out just to keep all the tension on between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And I prefer, and they definitely go out of their way to make Scorpion more of a straight up good guy. Like he's essentially like a Force ghost that comes at the end to save Cole before he gets his ass murdered by Sub-Zero, and then they team up to beat the shit out of Sub-Zero. Once again, that fight was cool. But yeah, I prefer my Scorpion to be more of a sort of anti-hero villain and then more on the good guy side, as opposed to just straight up just kind of just being a good guy off the grip. One of the positives that I didn't mention in my non-spoiler review, now that I think about it, I like that the majority of the characters who comes from Asian backgrounds were actually played by Asian people. That was cool. I respect that. Yeah, I like that a lot. That was cool, especially like I said, Ludi Lin as Liu Kang, Homeboy as Kung Lao. I like that there was an Asian guy playing the Thunder God Raiden, Lord Raiden. That was cool. Although I didn't really care for him in the role, but you take the good with the bad. So yeah, Mehcad Brooks. When he got into a fight. Jax got into a fight with Sub-Zero, which I thought was weird that Sub-Zero, who is this ninja, just for some reason just makes a hailstorm down the middle of somewhere in California. Like, I thought he would have been more stealthy than that, but whatever. He gets into a fight with Jax and he ends up freezing and ripping his arm, blowing his arms off. And and there's this plot device in this version called Akana, where if you're part of the chosen ones to be in a tournament, you get this dragon tattoo, and then you have to activate your Akana, which is an explanation for why certain people have powers. Which I didn't hate that explanation. I like that it kind of was like, hey, certain people have powers, and this is the reason why, as opposed to certain people just have powers because Mortal Kombat. They at least tried to give an explanation, and I had no problem with that. So that's how, Kano now has a laser eye because superpowers as opposed to cybernetic laser eye, whatever. So Jax loses his arms, and some monks from technology from the other realms, they give him these weird sort of thin robot arms that look fucking short, almost like little T-Rex arms, like on purpose. Like they're automatically just short. Like they're not big, but they're just thin rods, but they're his arms. I'm trying to listen. I don't have an example, but it's like, imagine like a little metal tube, and then a robot hand, and on his big ass shoulder. It was weird, and he's all depressed because his arms are gone and he can't use his arms. And then there's this moment where they're under attack and other people's powers have already been activated. Sonya's covered under this rubble, and he has to try to struggle to lift this rock. And conveniently, his arms transform and they get bigger and stronger. And now he has his traditional Jax, super strong arms. And I'm just like, was that his power? Was his power just robot arms the entire time? Like, if he hadn't lost his arms, would he be able to make a whole armored suit? Or was it just the arms? That was weird. I didn't quite get that. I was kind of scratching my head on that. But like I said, Mehcad Brooks was fine as Jax. He definitely put on some weight to bulk up, and he was good. He was good. And the lady that played Sonya, Jessica McNamee, she was good too. I like her. And when she finally got her Akana after she killed Kano, she had the rocket guns. Usually in the game it's like mechanical, but in this is magic. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. It was fine. It was cool when she popped up and she shot Melina. Melina was fine. She wasn't in the film that much. But that actress, Sissy something or another, Sissy Stringer, she was fine. She didn't have that many lines, but she looked good in the outfit. I was happy when she eventually had the full crack open jaw. It took a while, but like when they finally did it, I was like, oh, there you go. This reminds me of Mortal Kombat. Goro was fine. Looks better than he did in the 90s version. And he had a fight with Cole. That was a good fight. But like I said, I wish they would have focused more on Liu Kang and Kung Lao. The moment when Kung Lao dies is supposed to be emotional. I was emotional because I actually liked that character, and I was just like, why? Why did you kill him? He was so cool. And I like the suit, the helmet. When he did the buzzsaw joint on the vampire chick, what was her, Natiri? That was dope. And if they would have focused on those two from the beginning and their story, them being cousins and growing up and and him with the weird, Liu Kang with the weird sort of pedophile monk leader guy that he dropped. I was like, that would have been interesting. But they was like, no, Cole. We got to focus on Cole. Missed opportunity. But say any other thing. Oh, Reptile was in the film when they killed Reptile. That was fun. Fuck Reptile, I guess. I don't know. He's always in these movies and he's always get killed. That's always his thing. But as a whole, I wouldn't mind seeing the sequel. Maybe get a better director. I guess get a better script. Actually, whoever writes the last game, they should just let them write the movie. Because the games, yeah, like especially that last game, like get whoever wrote that to write the movie. They have a stronger handle on the premise. And the thing that they changed, they actually didn't have a tournament in this one because Shang Tsung was like, "Fuck the tournament. We're just gonna try to bum rush y'all and take things over." Some people might be upset about that, even though we've seen a tournament in every version of Mortal Kombat. Granted, that's what it is. Like I said, you get your characters fighting without the tournament. They kind of switch it a little bit. I was fine. I was not greatly upset by that, but I guess some people were. Like I said, go check out the film, make up your own opinion, and those are my main spoilery thoughts about Mortal Kombat 2021. But once again, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.